Have you ever thought about what your life might look like in your golden years? Many of us dream about being close to our children, envisioning a future where we're all together, helping raise grandkids, and spending quality time. But what if I told you that this idea, as comforting as it sounds, could be a big mistake? Stick with me, because in this video, we're diving deep into why living close to your children in your later years might lead to unexpected consequences. You won't want to miss the crucial insights I'm about to share, because understanding these hidden challenges can help you avoid common pitfalls, preserve your independence, and nurture your relationships with your family more healthily. By the end of this video, you'll have a new perspective on how to live your best life as you grow older, and why maintaining a little distance might be the key to thriving emotionally, physically, and socially. Stay tuned to discover how to avoid becoming a burden, how to keep your identity intact, and how to build a fulfilling life that doesn't rely solely on your children. Whether you're in your 50s, 60s, or beyond, this video will give you the tools to ensure your golden years are truly golden. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. Number 1. You may become a burden. One of the most deeply felt concerns for older individuals is the overwhelming fear of becoming a burden to their children. As time passes and our bodies and minds change, the reality of needing extra care and support becomes unavoidable. While our children might initially embrace the idea of helping and having us nearby, the slow, unspoken shift in dynamics can create a quiet storm of resentment over time. The truth is, they might not even voice it, but the weight of responsibility can quietly eat away at the love and joy that once defined the relationship. I have come across heartbreaking stories of well-meaning parents who, in a desire to be closer to their children, inadvertently placed themselves in a position of dependence. They thought their presence would strengthen their bond, but it often had the opposite effect. Imagine this. Your children, who are perhaps amid their career peaks, balancing their household responsibilities, and raising their children, are suddenly faced with the emotional and physical demands of caring for you too. The simple act of living nearby can unintentionally create an invisible pressure for them to take on more than they can handle. One woman shared her painful experience on Reddit, confessing, "I moved closer to my daughter because I wanted to be part of her life and help with my grandchildren. But slowly, I began to realize I was asking for more help than I could give back. I became a burden to her, even though she never said it. It broke my heart, and now I feel trapped in this position, unsure of how to make it right." Her words echo the silent heartache that often accompanies these situations. The love is still there, but the proximity has twisted it into something heavy, something that feels suffocating rather than supportive. It's not that your children don't love you. They do. But the truth is, that proximity can sometimes foster unintentional dependency. They may not be ready to shoulder the emotional and physical burden, and this can strain the relationship in ways no one ever anticipated. The very thing you wanted, to be closer to your loved ones, can unintentionally lead to emotional exhaustion, resentment, and feelings of entrapment for both parties. Living independently, in many cases, can actually protect the sacred bond you share with your children. It allows them to maintain their autonomy, while also keeping the door open for love, visits, and meaningful connection. This delicate balance may be difficult to navigate, but it often proves to be the most loving choice for everyone involved. 2. Loss of independence and identity. The decision to move closer to your children, often made with the best intentions, can quietly and unknowingly strip away the very essence of who you are, your independence. What begins as a seemingly innocent choice to be nearer to family can quickly transform into a subtle, yet devastating loss of control over your own life. When you're within arm's reach of your children, the lines between help and dependency blur, and soon, relying on them for even the smallest tasks, like getting groceries, making appointments, or simply deciding what to eat, becomes second nature. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Consider the heart-wrenching story of a man who, thinking it would be more convenient, moved next door to his son and daughter-in-law. At first, the arrangement seemed ideal, but it didn't take long for the subtle erosion of his autonomy to begin. Within a few months, he found himself constantly turning to them for everything, asking for rides, requesting help with chores, and losing the ability to handle the simplest of tasks without their involvement. One day, he paused and realized the painful truth. I feel like I've lost the confidence to do things on my own. My life has started revolving around them, and I've forgotten how to live by myself. He had unknowingly allowed himself to become a shadow of who he once was, no longer an independent individual, but a participant in someone else's world. In this gradual surrender of independence, he also began to lose the very sense of self that had defined him for years. The more he leaned on his family, the more he withered into someone unrecognizable. The loss wasn't just of practical tasks, it was the silent erosion of his identity, his confidence, and his agency. Staying further away, however, offers a vital lifeline. It challenges you to maintain your independence, to continue making decisions for yourself, and to trust in your abilities. It forces you to keep your mind sharp and your body active, two critical components of a fulfilling and vibrant life. By keeping your distance, you preserve not only your independence but the very core of your identity. The ability to live on your terms, to make decisions without depending on others, is a gift that can add years to your life, both physically and emotionally. It helps you stay rooted in who you truly are, unshaken, unbroken, and fully alive. 3. Strained relationships. Living near your family, while often seen as a way to foster deeper connections, can surprisingly unravel the very bonds you're trying to strengthen. Proximity, instead of bringing people closer, can magnify the smallest of issues, creating rifts where there once was harmony. The reality is that just because they are your family doesn't guarantee smooth relationships, especially as tensions flare when every little irritation is brought to the surface. For older parents, the emotional toll can be overwhelming. The well-meaning gestures you think are acts of love and care may be seen as an unwanted invasion. Many parents have shared their emotional struggles in the face of this unwelcome reality. One mother, in a heartbreaking confession on a forum, shared, "I thought living next to my son would bring us closer, that we'd share more precious moments. But instead, it feels like I'm constantly in his way. I offer advice, but it feels like I'm crossing boundaries I shouldn't. My words fall on deaf ears, and it's pushing us further apart." You may believe you're offering guidance, support, or just a helping hand, but your child might see your presence as an uninvited force, something suffocating rather than comforting. When you're close, there's little room for autonomy, for growth, for the breathing space that's essential for any relationship to thrive. The once subtle moments of affection may feel suffocated by a constant barrage of unsolicited advice, creating a deep sense of frustration and resentment. Distance, on the other hand, allows for healthier, more intentional interactions, where both parties can come together with renewed appreciation and respect. It gives you both the chance to live fully as individuals before reconnecting, keeping the emotional connection fresh and strong. Without that space, the relationship risks falling into the trap of dependency and tension, leaving both sides feeling misunderstood and emotionally drained. 4. Limited social life and isolation. In what may seem like a logical choice, moving closer to your children, believing it will bring you the comfort of family and the joy of shared moments, can, in an unexpected and heartbreaking twist, deepen the very isolation you sought to escape. It's a paradox, one that many do not see coming, but it's an emotional reality that some face. The illusion that being near your children will guarantee companionship and a sense of connection can quickly crumble when you realize how much your emotional well-being has been placed in their hands. When you allow your children to be the sole source of your social life, you risk neglecting the importance of building your community, of fostering friendships outside the immediate family circle. This reliance can leave you feeling more disconnected and alone than ever before, even when you're physically surrounded by the people you love. I came across a deeply moving story on a forum, one that has haunted me since. A woman, full of hope and the deep love that only a mother can have for her child, made the life-changing decision to move close to her son. She envisioned this move as the gateway to more family time, daily interactions, and the joy of shared experiences. She thought that by being closer to her son, she would naturally be included in family gatherings, outings, and the intimate moments of his life. In her mind, she would find herself enveloped in a warmth she believed only family could provide. But the reality was far harsher. To her great sorrow, she discovered that her son's life was far busier than she had imagined. Between his work, his commitments, and the demands of his own family, he hardly had time for her. As she poignantly expressed, "I uprooted my life, left behind my friends, my community, the familiar places where I once felt known and loved, all with the belief that I would be an integral part of my son's daily life." But the reality was crushing. "He's so busy with his responsibilities that I find myself standing at the edges of his world, more isolated than I've ever felt before. I thought moving here would bring me closer to him, but I now realize I've lost so much more than I ever thought possible." Her words are a powerful reminder of how easily we can deceive ourselves when it comes to relationships. We often place so much hope and expectation in our loved ones, believing that their proximity will fill the empty spaces in our hearts. But when that expectation goes unmet, when we realize that no one person, not even family, can provide all that we need to feel connected, the weight of that truth can be unbearable. It's not just the loneliness that hurts, it's the loss of autonomy, the loss of agency in our own lives, that leaves us feeling invisible, unimportant, and forgotten. But there is another truth, one that brings hope and strength. When you live independently, when you no longer rely solely on others for your social life and emotional well-being, you open the door to a world of possibilities. You are more likely to seek out new connections, join social activities, and create a vibrant network of friends and peers who bring joy, companionship, and meaning into your life. You give yourself the freedom to reconnect with passions and interests that might have been pushed aside in the rush of raising children and maintaining family obligations. It's in these moments of independence that you rediscover the richness of life outside the family unit. An exploration of who you are, not just as a mother or father, but as an individual worthy of your own time and attention. Building relationships outside of the family gives you a sense of purpose and connection that is deeply nourishing. These relationships are not bound by obligation, but by choice, by the shared experiences, laughter, and moments of understanding that come from people who truly see and appreciate you for who you are, not just for the roles you play. It is this vibrant social life, this network of support, that fills the spaces left by familial obligations. It is this that allows you to live your life with joy, independence, and a sense of belonging that cannot be replaced by relying on your children alone. As painful as it may be to confront the reality that living near your children may not always lead to the connection you imagined, the truth is liberating. It is in seeking out your community, building new relationships, and embracing your independence that you find the fullness of life. By doing so, you ensure that your golden years are filled with meaning, purpose, and the warmth of friendships that sustain you through the highs and lows of life. It is through these external connections that you will discover the vibrant, beautiful life you truly deserve, one that is defined by your own choices and by the strength of your own heart, not by the busy schedules of others. 5. Guilt and obligation on both sides. Living near your children may seem like the ideal solution, but it often introduces a complex and emotionally exhausting atmosphere of guilt and obligation on both sides, one that many don't fully anticipate. For parents, there's an almost constant, gnawing sense of guilt that grows with each passing day. Every time you ask for help, whether it's something small, like needing a ride to the store, or something more significant, like help managing health concerns, you feel an undeniable weight in your chest, knowing your children are already overwhelmed by their commitments. You never want to feel like a burden, but the reality is that the aging process comes with inevitable needs that can't always be avoided. And as much as you long for their help, there's an ever-present sense of hesitation. You find yourself holding back, unsure whether asking for assistance is asking too much. At the same time, your children are navigating their emotional maze. The guilt they feel when they can't provide the help or attention they so desperately need can be excruciating. They want to be there for you, but their lives are often filled with the chaotic demands of their careers, children, and personal lives. There's a silent, unspoken pressure that builds up between both generations, the kind that weighs heavily on their hearts. They try their best, but the demands can feel suffocating. They may find themselves torn between wanting to help you and feeling the stress of their daily struggles, unsure of how to juggle everything. The guilt they carry, feeling like they're letting you down, becomes almost a constant companion, pulling them in different directions. A woman shared a deeply emotional experience, one that many others can relate to, of living just down the street from her elderly parents. She described how every interaction with them was colored by guilt, a feeling that wrapped itself tightly around her chest. Every time I couldn't help them, I felt this overwhelming guilt gnawing at me, she confessed. But what hurt even more was the resentment that quietly crept in. I wanted to be there for them, but I also wanted to focus on my own life. My career, my children, my peace of mind. It was like I was stuck in a never-ending tug-of-war, and no matter what I did, someone, somewhere, was going to be disappointed. I felt like there was no right choice. For this woman, as for so many others, the constant emotional strain of trying to please everyone left her feeling trapped, unable to find balance or peace. And then there's the additional, often unspoken strain of feeling like you're in the way. Like your mere presence is a constant reminder of everything your children are juggling. There's this underlying fear that, by needing them, you might be complicating their already busy lives. It's an excruciating emotional weight that silently chips away at your self-worth. You don't want to be seen as a burden, but in the back of your mind, there's always that nagging voice telling you that you might be. But when you choose to live independently, when the pressure of proximity fades, something magical happens. That weight begins to lift. The constant tension between love and obligation begins to dissolve, and suddenly, you can breathe again. Living away from your children, while it may initially seem lonely, allows both sides the emotional freedom to rediscover each other. Without the constant pressure of unspoken expectations, visits become something entirely different. No longer are they filled with the undercurrent of guilt or the sense of having to be there. Instead, each visit becomes a treasured moment, a gift of time and love that is free from obligation. The joy of simply being together returns. The time spent with your children becomes deeply meaningful once again, not a duty, but a choice. The overwhelming weight of expectation is replaced by the peaceful joy of connection, and with it comes the recognition that both sides, parents and children, can truly live without the constant burden of guilt. 6. You risk missing out on new experiences. Choosing to live close to your children may, at first, feel like a natural and comforting decision. The warmth of being near family can create a false sense of security, offering a semblance of stability and predictability in your later years. But within this cozy bubble, there lies a hidden danger. The risk of falling into a monotonous routine, one that quietly stifles your sense of adventure and your desire to explore the boundless world around you. When you anchor yourself too close to home, there's an unspoken expectation that life should revolve around the familiar, the safe, the routine. Yet, this very comfort zone, however reassuring it may seem, can rob you of the chance to experience the thrilling, the unknown, and the extraordinary. Imagine this. You've spent years carving out a life, yet the vast expanse of uncharted territory, places you've always dreamed of visiting, people you've longed to meet, activities you've yet to try, remains just beyond your reach. You tell yourself, one day, I'll do this. One day, I'll break free. But that day never seems to come. This is the very predicament one man found himself in when he shared his story about moving across the country after retirement. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. He decided not to settle near his children, despite their initial disappointment. My daughter was upset, he confessed, but moving to a new city has given me a newfound joy I never imagined. I've joined clubs, made new friends, and discovered a community where I feel truly connected. I would have never done this if I'd stayed close to my kids. Now, when they visit, I'm not just a spectator in their lives. I'm proudly showing them the vibrant new chapter I have created. This man's story is not just one of relocation. It is a profound reminder that life can be more than just the predictable. It is a call to open your heart to the possibility of growth, to seek out new horizons that could awaken a sense of passion and purpose. Choosing a different path for your retirement, whether it's traveling the world, embracing the adventure of relocating to a new city, or finding a fulfilling community in a retirement village, can transform your world in ways you never thought possible. This is your moment to step off the well-worn path, embrace the beauty of the unknown, and take bold steps toward crafting the next chapter of your life, a chapter that's entirely yours. You owe it to yourself to seek a life that is not merely about existing, but about truly living passionately and authentically, with experiences that will fill your heart and soul for years to come. 7. Your children may not be ready for the responsibility. The immense weight that comes with the responsibility of caring for aging parents is something most adult children are simply not prepared for, emotionally, mentally, or practically. The sudden shift from child to caregiver can be an overwhelming, life-altering experience. And when the parent moves closer to their adult children, it may seem like a solution at first, but the reality is much more complicated. For many, the transition is not as seamless as it may appear on the surface, and the result is often an enormous amount of stress, guilt, and emotional exhaustion. One woman, deeply reflecting on her journey, shared her struggles in a forum, her words resonating with countless others who had been blindsided by this new and unfamiliar role. After her father passed away, her mother moved nearby, and what initially seemed like a comforting, even logical choice quickly became an emotional minefield. "I wasn't ready for this kind of responsibility," she confessed with an unmistakable weariness in her voice. "I'm trying to balance the demands of my career and raising my children, and now, I'm suddenly expected to care for my mom more than I ever thought I would. It's all falling on my shoulders, and it's causing so much tension in my marriage. There are days when I feel completely overwhelmed, just suffocated by the weight of everything." This woman's story is not unique. It is a reality faced by so many adult children who, despite their best intentions, find themselves trapped between multiple worlds. Most are still navigating their complex, demanding lives, trying to find a balance between their careers, raising families, and maintaining personal well-being. For many, they're still figuring out who they are, what they want, and how they can pursue their own goals, all while suddenly being thrust into a role they never expected. The role of caretaker can feel like an insurmountable responsibility that, in many cases, becomes a source of emotional and physical strain. It's not that adult children don't love their parents or want to help. They certainly do. But the truth is, the emotional, financial, and logistical demands of caregiving can feel like an insidious burden, one that can wear them down, bit by bit, until they're no longer able to give without feeling drained, resentful, or even helpless. When parents live far away, there's a necessary emotional space that allows children to prepare themselves for this transition in their own time. It allows them to process their feelings, face the reality of what's coming, and mentally and emotionally prepare for what it truly means to step into the role of caregiver. It offers them a buffer, a breathing room, to make decisions on their terms, without the constant and overwhelming proximity that can often force them into an immediate commitment they aren't ready to fulfill. In a sense, living at a distance gives them the time to make the choice themselves, whether they want to embrace this new responsibility, and when they are emotionally strong enough to take it on. With the sudden and close proximity of a parent needing care, this decision can feel like a weight they are forced to bear without warning, without preparation, and without the ability to come to terms with the enormous emotional, physical, and financial costs it entails. The guilt that can arise when a child feels they are not doing enough is powerful and often crippling. They want to be there for their parents, of course, but they also have their own lives, their own families, and their responsibilities to manage. The pressure of living so close to a parent who needs constant support can create a sense of overwhelm that infiltrates every aspect of their lives. It can affect their work, their relationships, and even their mental health. Sometimes, they may begin to feel like they are being pulled in too many directions, with no space to breathe, no time to rest, and no ability to meet everyone's needs, including their own. In the end, The best way to approach this situation is to allow your children the time and space they need to prepare for the role of caregiver. It's not about pushing them into this responsibility too soon or forcing them to make decisions under the weight of emotional pressure. It's about trusting them to step into this role naturally when they are truly ready to do so. While they will undoubtedly be there when you need them, ready and willing to provide love and care, it's important to recognize that the role of the caregiver should not be something they feel they must take on prematurely. The emotional toll of forcing this responsibility too soon can be detrimental to both you and your children. By allowing them the time to process their emotions and prepare mentally and physically for this life-changing role, you are not only protecting their well-being but also ensuring that when they do take on the role of caregiver, they will be able to do so with love, patience, and the strength to truly support you in the ways you both deserve. When children are given the chance to embrace caregiving at their own pace, they will be more present, more capable, and more committed to offering the care and attention that they need as they age, without the burden of obligation weighing them down. 8. You deserve to focus on yourself. As you enter the later stages of life, it's common to feel like your identity is intertwined with the roles you've played for others, especially your children. Decades spent working hard, raising a family, and constantly giving of yourself to make sure everyone else's needs are met can lead you to a place where you might forget one critical thing: you. The truth is, you have spent a lifetime making sacrifices, often putting your desires, dreams, and even your well-being aside for the sake of your family, your career, and the responsibilities that came with them. You gave your time, your energy, and your heart, and now, after all those years of devotion, the question arises: what about you? What do you want, now that the hard work and sacrifices have led you to this stage of life? What are your dreams, your passions, your desires? This is your time. A time to focus on you. A time to discover or rediscover the things that make you feel alive. It's not selfish. It's necessary. You've spent so many years being everything for everyone, nurturing your children, supporting your spouse, caring for aging parents, working tirelessly to build a life for your family, that now, it's time to reclaim a part of yourself that may have gotten lost along the way. The world has always told you that your purpose was to serve others, but what if now your purpose is to serve your own heart? To nurture the passions and joys that have been waiting patiently for their turn? A powerful story I came across was from a woman who, after decades of being the cornerstone of her family, made a brave and life-affirming choice to move to a serene beach town by herself when she retired. She shared her experience with a sense of quiet satisfaction and overwhelming peace, saying, "I spent my whole life taking care of everyone. My kids, my husband, even my aging parents. I always thought that after I retired, I would move closer to my children, so I could be there for them, just like I always had. But one day, I realized that I had spent so much of my life being what other people needed me to be. I realized that I was worthy of more than just fulfilling the roles others had for me. So, I found a place by the ocean, and for the first time in decades, I'm doing things for myself. My children come to visit, and when they do, they don't just see their mom. They see a woman who is happy, fulfilled, and deeply connected to herself. It's a gift I never expected to give them, but it's the greatest gift I could have ever offered." Her story is a shining testament to the power of embracing this stage of life with courage and self-love. Retirement is not the end of a journey. It's a beautiful new chapter, one that holds the potential for rebirth and reinvention. The freedom that comes with this stage of life is unlike any other. It is the freedom to choose, to explore, to live on your terms, free from the constraints of others' expectations. It is the freedom to pick up forgotten hobbies, pursue new adventures, to say yes to new experiences, and to simply be. Whether it's traveling to places you've always dreamed of, starting a new creative project, or simply savoring quiet moments of solitude, your retirement years should be about you. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Imagine finally having the time to do what makes you happy. Imagine being able to take long walks on the beach, explore hidden corners of the world, learn to paint, or finally read all the books you've had on your shelf for years but never had the time to enjoy. This is the moment to rekindle those passions that may have been tucked away for too long. And as you do, something beautiful happens. You don't just enrich your own life, you also enrich the lives of those around you. By taking care of yourself, by filling your own cup, you show your children and loved ones the importance of self-care and the value of living a life true to yourself. You set an example of happiness, fulfillment, and independence. They'll see you as a person who has the courage to embrace their true self, no longer bound by the expectations of others, but liberated by the knowledge that your own happiness matters just as much as anyone else's. So, ask yourself, what do you want now? What are the things that bring you joy? This is your time to explore, to rest, to grow, and to truly live. For years, you may have been the anchor, the caregiver, the one who held everything together. Now, let yourself be the one who soars, who finds peace, who reignites the spark of your own passions. You've earned this. You've earned the right to embrace freedom, to find joy in your own company, to focus on your own happiness, and to savor each and every day. This is your time to be unapologetically you, to love yourself fiercely, and to create a life that reflects the fullness of who you are. 9. Your children's parenting choices may frustrate you. Living close to your children can often feel like a double-edged sword, especially when it comes to how they raise their own children. On the surface, it may seem like a golden opportunity to strengthen family bonds and create memories with your grandchildren. Yet, as time goes on, you may find yourself deeply frustrated by the parenting choices you witness up close. What once appeared as a chance to offer support can quickly turn into a battleground of differing views on discipline, education, and even the simplest aspects of daily life, like what your grandchildren are allowed to eat or how much screen time they get. The frustration can be overwhelming. You may catch yourself holding back, biting your tongue or silently seething, every time you see a parenting decision that doesn't align with your own values. A grandmother opened up on an online forum, sharing her painful realization. I never understood how much I would struggle with my daughter's parenting choices until I moved so close. I thought I'd be helping, but instead, we constantly clash over small things, like how much TV they watch or how they manage tantrums. It's draining. Some days, I wish I hadn't moved so near. Another woman shared a similarly heart-wrenching experience, revealing, I thought by moving closer to my daughter, we'd be able to spend more quality time together. Instead, we found ourselves arguing over everything, from screen time to discipline. I come from a different generation, and it's hard to watch without offering advice, even though I know it's not wanted. Now, I feel like I have to walk on eggshells around her. The reality is that when you live close to your children, those differences in parenting styles become far more glaring. The intimate day-to-day decisions they make with their children are no longer distant ideas you hear about in passing. They are right there in front of you, and they can feel jarring. The smallest issues, like the amount of television your grandchildren watch or how tantrums are managed, can feel like mountains, and the emotional weight of these disagreements can feel unbearable. On the other hand, living at a distance offers a certain kind of freedom. Freedom from the constant tension that can arise when you're so close to the heart of these parenting decisions. When you're not witnessing every single decision being made, it's easier to accept your children's choices without the burden of judgment. This space provides the invaluable opportunity to maintain the respect and warmth needed for a positive, nurturing relationship. It ensures your role as a grandparent remains one of love and support, not one of constant critique or unsolicited advice. And perhaps most importantly, it allows your children to make their own choices, free from the weight of feeling judged or questioned. The distance allows both parties to feel respected, empowered, and, ultimately, more connected. 10. Proximity can lead to overstepping boundaries. Even with the best of intentions, living too close to your children can unintentionally lead to the erosion of vital emotional boundaries, transforming what was once a source of comfort and connection into a space of tension and unspoken strain. The idea of being near those you love sounds so appealing. The desire to be involved in your children's lives, to offer support, and to share in their daily experiences. However, that closeness can quickly blur the lines between affection and dependency, creating a situation where privacy, personal space, and healthy independence begin to fade into the background. What may initially seem like an innocent way of nurturing familial bonds can, in reality, become a subtle invasion of personal space that weighs heavily on both sides. As the days pass, the constant proximity may lead to uninvited visits, an expectation of frequent check-ins, or an unintended over-involvement in their personal affairs. With every unexpected knock on the door or unplanned visit, the feeling of personal autonomy can begin to shrink, leaving your children with little room to breathe or maintain the boundaries they need to live their own lives. Even the most well-meaning gestures, like stopping by for a cup of coffee or a quick chat, can start to feel like emotional obligations rather than opportunities for connection. Over time, this emotional burden can become overwhelming, leading to exhaustion, resentment, and a sense of being emotionally suffocated on both ends of the relationship. One woman bravely shared her experience. "I love my mom with all my heart, but when she moved just down the street, it was like she was always there, in my space. She would drop by unexpectedly, and even though she only wanted to chat or check in, I began to feel trapped. I loved her, but the constant presence was suffocating. It was like my home, my sanctuary, was no longer just mine. I didn't know how to handle it. I'd start resenting her, and then I could see the hurt in her eyes as I pulled away. It was heartbreaking for both of us, but neither of us knew how to fix it." This deeply emotional reflection is a painful reminder of how easy it is for even the most loving relationships to fall into unhealthy patterns when space and boundaries are neglected. What began as a desire to stay close and supportive led to emotional strain and distance, rather than the closeness they had envisioned. The truth is, maintaining clear boundaries in any relationship is not just about avoiding conflict or discomfort. It is an essential element for the emotional well-being of both parties involved. It's a delicate balance that allows for respect, personal growth, and the freedom to live fully, without the weight of unspoken expectations. When boundaries are respected, both parents and children are free to thrive independently and together, each with the space to nurture their own identities and create meaningful connections. Without this space, the relationship can easily become one of unbalanced dependence, leaving both parties feeling emotionally drained, unfulfilled, and, in some cases, bitter. Living further apart doesn't mean love is diminished or that connections are lost. It actually enhances the ability to create healthy, respectful relationships. It helps maintain a sense of autonomy for both parties, where both the parent and the child can savor their personal lives without the constant pressure to meet emotional needs. Distance allows for emotional clarity, giving each side the time and space to reflect on the relationship, to appreciate the moments they share, and to fully embrace the value of those moments when they do occur. Rather than feeling like an expectation, regular visits or phone calls become a beautiful, anticipated occasion, something that adds value and joy to the relationship, rather than something that feels obligatory or fraught with tension. In this way, the distance doesn't create separation. It fosters respect and appreciation for one another, allowing both parent and child to appreciate their autonomy and individuality. It's in the space that love truly grows, as each person feels empowered to continue living their own life with confidence and joy, knowing that the relationship will continue to thrive in its own time and place. This emotional distance, ironically, allows for deeper emotional closeness, as it provides the necessary space for both parties to keep their boundaries intact and preserve the loving, respectful connection they both desire. The relationship is not defined by proximity. It is defined by mutual respect, understanding, and a deep appreciation for the individual journeys both parent and child are on. 11. The grandparent role can be overwhelming. The joy of being close to your grandchildren is a gift that many grandparents treasure deeply. There's something indescribably magical about watching your legacy unfold through the laughter and smiles of the next generation. However, while the role of a grandparent can be one of the most heartwarming and fulfilling experiences of life, it can also, at times, feel like an overwhelming burden that consumes your time, energy, and emotional resources. For many, living nearby to your children and grandchildren can bring a set of expectations that, although not always voiced, are felt deeply, like an invisible weight pressing down on you. The unspoken assumption that you'll be available for babysitting, school pickups, or spending long hours with your grandkids can slowly evolve into a demanding, full-time job, one that you may not have signed up for but find yourself obligated to take on. In the beginning, when the joy of being involved in their lives is fresh and exciting, you might feel like you are being showered with love, building precious memories, and contributing meaningfully to their growth. But as time goes on, and the demands pile up, the energy it takes to juggle your own life with that of your grandchildren can become exhausting. The thrill of spending time with them can turn into a sense of resentment, not because you don't love them, far from it, but because you start to feel that your own needs, your own time, and your own desires are being suffocated under the weight of endless obligations. The role you once embraced so joyfully now feels like an encroaching responsibility, stealing from you the very freedom you imagined you would have in retirement. One grandfather, who had moved closer to his daughter with the hope of enjoying more time with his beloved grandkids, shared the emotional toll this expectation took on him. "I moved closer to my daughter thinking I'd enjoy more time with my grandkids. I love them dearly, but now I find myself watching them almost every day, and it's exhausting. I'm retired, but I feel like I've taken on a new job. I don't know how to say no without causing tension, but I miss my free time." His words are a poignant reflection of a common reality many grandparents face. What begins as a beautiful opportunity for connection can quickly spiral into an all-consuming role. The exhaustion he feels is not simply physical. It is emotional and mental too. The frustration of feeling trapped in a cycle of obligation, with no clear way out, is real and can take a heavy toll on a grandparent's overall well-being. The harsh truth is that as much as you love your grandchildren, being pulled in every direction without any space for your own life can slowly chip away at your sense of self. You may find yourself feeling like a constant caregiver, with little room to breathe, rest, or take care of your own needs. There's an overwhelming sense of guilt that accompanies the thought of stepping back, of saying no. You may fear that you'll let down your children or cause tension in family dynamics. It becomes a paradox. Your love for your grandchildren and your desire to be there for them pulls you in, while the relentless demands leave you feeling drained and emotionally distant. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. However, there is a way to navigate this complex role with grace and wisdom. Living at a distance from your children and grandchildren, while it may initially seem like an emotional sacrifice, can actually provide the breathing room needed to maintain a healthy, joyful relationship with them. It allows you to set boundaries that protect your emotional well-being without sacrificing the closeness you want to share with your family. From a distance, you can still be a loving, involved grandparent, but on your own terms, without being consumed by constant caregiving. This balance ensures that your role as a grandparent remains a source of joy, love, and enrichment, rather than stress, exhaustion, and resentment. You can still enjoy meaningful visits, share your wisdom, and witness their growth, but without the heavy toll of being on call 24/7. By creating space, you are allowing your relationship with your grandchildren to be exactly what it was meant to be: a beautiful, nurturing bond filled with cherished moments, laughter, and connection, rather than a source of emotional depletion. You protect your own heart and mind, ensuring that you can give your best to your grandchildren when you are with them, and also take the time you need to care for yourself. In this way, you can preserve the sanctity of your role as a grandparent while maintaining the balance of freedom and self-care that is essential for your own happiness and peace of mind. Ultimately, it is this delicate dance of love and boundaries that ensures the bond you share with your grandchildren remains strong, vibrant, and joyful for years to come. We've explored some deep and emotional truths today about the grandparent role and the balance between love, responsibility, and self-care. It's clear that while being close to your grandchildren is an incredible gift, it's also important to establish boundaries to preserve your own well-being and ensure that your relationship remains joyful and fulfilling. By setting those boundaries, you can continue to give love without losing yourself in the process. So, what have you learned so far? Is there something in this message that resonates with your own experience, or perhaps something new you'll be bringing into your life? I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned today that you will put into practice moving forward? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss out on more valuable insights like this. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for being part of this journey.